Hello, everyone. So, our adaptations presentation for special challenges is on mental illness, and this is by Claudia Lopez and Christine Polispo. So, we're just going to introduce our topic, statistics for California, and also statistics for teens and children. And then we're going to talk about implications that this has on classroom environment, academic instruction, social behavior, and then adaptations and strategies that you can use in your classroom to meet these educational challenges. So, what is mental illness? Mental is a condition characterized by alterations in thinking, mood, and or behavior. So think of it as a break from reality. And it can result in diminished capacity to cope with the demands of daily life. Having a mental illness is a hidden disability, and it's rarely apparent to others. So you cannot see a mental illness. You can't see someone having an anxiety when outwardly they're smiling and they're cooperating with other people. Students with mental illness may experience symptoms that interfere with their educational goals that create a psychiatric disability. And here are some statistics in America. So 1.1% or 1 in 100 American adults live with schizophrenia. 2.6% or 6.1 million of American adults live with bipolar disorder. 6.9% or 16 million live with major depression, and 18.1%, which is 42 million of American adults live with anxiety disorders. And these are actually mental illnesses that you can see in your students as well. So about 43.8 million adults experience mental illness in a given year. So that's 1 in 5. Nearly 1 in 25 adults in America live with a serious mental illness. And then 1/2 of all chronic mental illness begins by the age of 14, 3/4 by the age of 24. So chronic mental illness can happen as young as 14 years old, and those are our students. Statistics for children and teens. So 1 in 5 children ages 13 to 18 have or will have a serious mental illness. 20% of youth live with a mental health condition. 11% have a mood disorder. 10% have a behavior or conduct disorder, and 8% of youth have an anxiety disorder. And there is a large impact of mental illness when it comes to their education. So 50% of all lifetime cases of mental illness begin by the age of 14 and 75% by age 24. The average delay between onset of symptoms and intervention is 8 to 10 years. So that's a really long time between your onset of these symptoms and then an intervention to help these kids. 30% of students with a mental health condition age 14 and older drop out of school. And this is the highest dropout rate of any disability group. 70% of youth in state and local juvenile justice systems have a mental illness. These are possible symptoms of mental illnesses that we picked out. So there is a heightened anxiety, fear, suspicion, or blaming of others. There's a marked personality change over time. There's confused or disorganized thinking and strange or grandiose ideas. There's difficulty in concentrating, making decisions, or remembering things. These students experience extreme highs or lows in mood. There is a denial of obvious problems and a strong resistance to offers of help. And there's also thinking or talking of suicide. And these are limitations that are associated with mental illness that you can see in some of your students. So some students may be taking medication for their mental illness, and the side effects pose a difficulty with their academic instruction. They might feel sleepy after taking the medication, maybe feel a little bit more anxious. They have difficulty screening out environmental stimuli. So if something happens out of the blue that they didn't expect and that they can't control, sometimes they might, have an outburst. There's also difficulty in them sustaining concentration and maintaining stamina. They have difficulty handling time pressures and multiple tasks. So when it comes to tests, like especially time tests, that is something that they will have difficulty in. They have difficulty interacting with others, fear of authority figures, and also responding to negative feedback. Um, they also have difficulty responding to change, and they also have severe test anxiety. And here are some types of mental illnesses that you can see in your classroom. So one is depression, and depression is marked by a mood disorder that can begin at any age. Major depression is characterized by depressed mood most of each day, lack of pleasure in previously enjoyed activities. Maybe they used to enjoy, interacting with their friends, or maybe reading a book. They also have thoughts of suicide, insomnia, they have trouble sleeping, and also consistent feelings or worthlessness or guilt. You can also have a student who has bipolar affective disorder, and this is a mood disorder with revolving periods of mania and depression. So they are going to have like a very high phase, and then which is the mania phase, and then a very depressed phase, which is their low phase. So in the mania phase, a person might experience inflated self-esteem, high work and creative productivity, and decreased need to sleep. But then once they get into the depressed phase, a person would experience the symptoms of depression, which was mentioned earlier. You can have a student who has borderline personality disorder, and this personality disorder includes both mood disorder and thought disorder symptoms. It has both biological and environmental determinants. So one of them is maybe the child has experienced child abuse, or they may come from a very dysfunctional family. They may experience mood fluctuations, insecurities, and mistrust, distortion of perceptions, dissociation, difficulty with interpersonal relationships with their friends or just with anyone around them, and also limited coping skills. Another one is schizophrenia, and this is a mental disorder that can cause a person to experience difficulty with activities of daily living and possible delusions, hallucinations, and paranoia. They typically demonstrate concrete thought processing and appreciate structure and routine. You may also have a student who has, anxiety disorder. So mood disorders in which the individual responds to thoughts, situations, environments, or people with fear and anxiety. Symptoms can disrupt a person's ability to concentrate and focus on tasks at hand. Specific anxiety disorders can be OCD, panic disorder, social and specific phobias, and PTSD. So there are multiple mental illnesses that you can experience in your classroom, and these 5 mental illnesses are just some that we chose to explore. But there are accommodations that you can make for your students, just to help ease their anxieties and help them be more productive in the classroom. Some of the instructional strategies that you can do is address a variety of learning styles. So maybe you have a student who is more tactile, you can use manipulatives, that way they can touch things, or you have a student who's more of a visual learner and you can provide them with a lot of pictures and videos. You should also incorporate experiential learning activities, and also be prepared to set behavioral expectations for all students in the classroom. And also teach your class to embrace diversity, to include people with psychiatric disabilities. Even though you have a student that has a mental illness, you still want to include them in your daily instruction and also include them in your expectations, so that they know what to expect, what they are expected of, and also what they can expect from you as a teacher to help them. So here are some classroom accommodations that you can do. So there are a multitude of accommodations that you can have for your students, and some of the accommodations you'll probably learn along the way as you're interacting with them. So one accommodation that you can do is preferential seating. So maybe you can have them sit in the front more. That way you can monitor them, making sure that they pay attention and just making sure that they're focused. If sitting near a window is going to cause a distraction, you can put them a little bit more towards the middle. You can have an assigned classmate as a volunteer assistant. You can permit a beverage in class. Like I would permit water, especially for students who are on medication and maybe they took a medication before coming to school, or maybe during lunch or recess and their mouth feels a little bit dry. You can also have prearranged or frequent breaks just to, make sure that they're still going, and stuff like that. You can also use a tape recorder. That way the student can go back to the lecture, or, go back to any information that they may have missed or are not, or still have difficulty understanding. You can also have a note taker or photocopy of another student's notes. Early availability of syllabus and textbooks, so you can prime the student. That way they become familiarized with what they're going to learn in class. That way there's less anxiety. Also, availability of course material on a disk is one accommodation that you can have in case your student is absent. You can also offer private feedback on academic performance. Tell your student like, oh, like a few days ago you're having difficulty with this, but you're really trying hard and I can see that. Just do whatever you can to provide them positive feedback that they are trying. That way they know that they are capable students as well. Examination accommodations that you can do is have exams in alternate formats. So maybe they have severe text anxiety, they cannot answer multiple questions. Maybe you can have them write an essay if they want to, or maybe they have anxiety writing an essay. So you can have your exam be in multiple choice. You can use a computer if that helps them extend time for taking the test. Breaking the exam into different parts can help them as well. Have exams individually proctored, so maybe they don't feel comfortable taking an exam with the entire class. So maybe after school, during lunch, they can be proctored by themselves, like with you in the room. You can have them take the exam in a separate, quiet or non-distracting room. You can also increase the frequency of exams. So, like test them every now and then. That way everything is more spread out. You can also permit the exams to be read orally, dictated, scribed, or typed. So, if your student has like severe text anxiety, maybe rather than having them do like a paper and pencil exam, you can do an oral exam with them, and they can just, tell you the answers, and you can mark it on a piece of paper to take note what their answer is. You can also provide assignment accommodations for your students. So one is substitute assignments depending on specific circumstances. Another is giving the student advance notice of assignments, again, priming them so they know what to expect. Permission to submit assignments handwritten rather than typed, or vice versa. So written assignments rather than having them do oral presentations if they don't feel comfortable giving a presentation in front of everyone in the classroom. Extend time to complete the assignments, and also assignment assistance during hospitalization. You're going to have some students who do have severe mental illness, and sometimes they do have to be hospitalized. So you want to be able to accommodate for them as well during that time. That way they're not left behind and they don't feel left out, and when they come back, they're ready to participate in class. And here's the citation page where we got all of the information, and that's it. So this is our presentation adaptation for students with mental illness. Thank you.